Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Film Frauds for myself, Matt, my two co-hosts, Mark
Hello.
and Tyler.
Hello.
Provide our completely unprofessional and 100% biased opinions on the movies of today, tomorrow, and yesteryear. But today, we're finally doing a movie from the present. Tyler, what movie are you talking about today?
So, this week, a new movie came out on Netflix called The Trial of Chicago 7 by writer-director Aaron Sorkin. And if you don't know who Aaron Sorkin is, I'm assuming you do. I don't really have to probably go into detail. He's probably the most prominent writer out there working today. His name alone draws people to his movies. It's the main reason why we're talking about him today. He's written movies like The Social Network, Moneyball. Actually, for Moneyball, he was brought in to like touch up the script, not actually write it. And you can kind of feel that in the movie. But like Steve Jobs, he directed Molly's Game. He's worked on A Few Good Men, Charles Wilson's War, American President, Malice. But he's also done
I've been
TV
working
shows.
A Few Good Men as well.
What? Say that again?
I didn't hear him.
I didn't hear the
I
joke.
hear
You
Matt.
didn't even like your joke just and then slap. No one heard the joke.
Never mind. Keep
Oh
going.
my god. But he's also really prominent in television. He's done shows like The West Wing and Newsroom, and I think Sports Night is what it's called. But this movie is ultimately about the 1968-1969 Chicago 7 trial that resulted from the Chicago riots around the Democratic National Convention. It is Aaron Sorkin's most political movie, I think. And his movies contain a lot of politics, but oftentimes they're hidden or they're a little more subtle. This one is very direct. This is a stance on politics, and he's using this Chicago 7 trial as a framework. It's one of those movies that has been in production hell for a long, long time. This movie was actually going to be made in the mid-2000s. Steven Spielberg was originally attached to direct. Then there was talk about Paul Greengrass. Even Ben Stiller was going to direct at a certain point. This movie's a lot, and I'm pretty on record by saying that Aaron Sorkin's first movie, Molly's Game, is terrible. I actually kind of hate that movie. If we did a review on it, I'd give it an F. I hate it. I hate everything about that movie.
His first directed movie.
And this is the second one, and it's interesting. I don't know what you guys thought. This is also gonna be non-spoiler section for a little bit.
Yeah.
So, what do you guys think?
Matt, you can go.
I think this movie is good. I think I would have liked it more if it was a documentary or book format. I think that I think it takes too much time to be dramatic and to be a movie sometimes when it doesn't really need to be. I would say it has like really high highs in the beginning and in the end, but somewhere in the middle, I was completely lost and kind of bored. But it was kind of in that C range for me. But then like towards the end, I was kind of like, oh, it's getting into B. But I don't know if I watched it again, if that ending would have the same impact it did on me, like that did, like not knowing what was going to happen. But I'd say the movie is pretty solid. Like I like courtroom dramas, but it just suffers. I mean, I know it's taken from like a real life thing, but I think it just suffers from having too many characters. And it was kind of hard for me to really care about all of them. But I mean, all the acting's good. Sacha Baron Cohen tries to do a Massachusetts accent, and sometimes it's okay.
Yeah. And sometimes it's over the top.
Yeah. Trial. Like who says that? No one from our area says that. And yeah, it's good. I mean, the best of Aaron Sorkin is obviously Social Network for me. I haven't seen all this stuff, but Social Network is just phenomenal. But this is kind of like a middle of the road movie for me. I don't know, Mark, what did you think?
I would say I'm a little higher than you, Matt. It's very good. I was genuinely surprised. I was really liking it, and then until about like the last like 10 minutes, it sort of got knocked down a little bit. I think Sorkin is, he's a much better writer when you have a director like David Fincher like holding him back.
Yep.
Because at times it gets really sentimental in this film, and it's like a little too much for my taste. Because like I really like the gut punch like political movies, and it felt the look. I mean, obviously it's a portrayal of historic events, but it just, I don't know. It lost some momentum for me towards the end. But as a whole, I really enjoyed it. I would say I'm probably in the B range, probably like high-ish B range. The first act, I was like really into it, and then as time went on, it just sort of, I don't know. I know I just said momentum was lost, but it was also lost in that sense where uh, you're trying to juggle so many characters, and you sort of it's just like hard to pinpoint things. And also, so at times it was kind of confusing what was going on exactly, like what they're talking about, like when they make connection to the to that's kind of that's a spoiler. I'm not going to say that, but at times it's like you're kind of like you're like a few steps behind the movie, and you're trying to like piece things together for like a solid minute or two. And it happened a few times for me, but um, overall, I thought it was very good. It has like an all-star cast: Sacha Baron Cohen, Eddie Redmayne, Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Frank Langella as the judge, Mark Rylance and Jeremy Strong, as well as a few others. Um, but on the whole, I thought it was very good, and I would highly recommend for anyone who's not sure whether to watch it or not to go check it out.
So I want to echo some sentiments you said. Aaron Sorkin works best when he has a director to rein him in. I mean, like you guys have said, Social Network, the Sorkin Fincher fight has never been more evident in that movie than when you actually start to watch other Aaron Sorkin movies and realize if Aaron Sorkin gets the ending that he wants, he's gonna have that fucking bullshit sentimentality that I hate in his movies. Because this isn't a spoiler because I won't get into details, but his movies, the ending specifically, always feel like they're congratulating the movie themselves, never actually expressing sentimentality about the events, but it always feels like Aaron Sorkin patting himself on the back for the thing that he has created. It happens in A Few Good Men, happens in fucking Steve Jobs, and it tanks the ending of that movie. It happens a little bit in Moneyball. It really happens in Money Game. And the only movie
Molly's Game.
Molly's Game. Sorry, what did I say?
You said Money's Game.
Oh, Money's Game.
He's probably gonna make that movie at some point.
Yeah, it's gonna be the crossover.
It's gonna be a crossover. Yeah. But it doesn't happen in Social Network because the ending of Social Network, where a billionaire CEO tycoon of Facebook is sitting refreshing a Facebook page of the girl that he likes, is so much more subdued than anything else he's ever done. And this movie has that fucking bullshit sentimentality where it feels like he's just congratulating himself for the rest of the movie.
I mean, I'm just curious, is there any documentation of Aaron Sorkin and David Fincher fighting?
I do not know, but I know there's a documentary about the making of The Social Network, which I'm really curious about.
Okay.
But regardless, this movie is solid. It feels like it's a movie of peaks, and it's never necessarily a peak at the end. It feels like this movie has two certain peaks and two very effective scenes. They're not the end scene. And I feel like because of that, it makes it so the movie, like you said, Mark, has a really solid first hour and then tapers off a little bit towards the end. Because there's a certain point in the movie where it gets so dramatic and it's so impactful that they've kind of peaked a little bit early. And then there's nothing that really can come after that ultimately serves to kind of like surprise the audience. And that's where he throws in his stupid sentimentality at the end where you're like, is that the peak? No, it's not. I think this is a movie. This is an actor's movie. This is Aaron Sorkin using dialogue to basically to convey kind of like pacing and tone. I know that sounds very like rudimentary, but the most important thing about this movie is the dialogue, because it's a dialogue movie. Everything else is in service of the dialogue of the movie. And through that, each actor gets their own turn for a spotlight moment. Each actor gets their moment to basically get their Oscar kind of like speech or moment that, oh, sorry, Matt, you're muted. We can't hear you. Oh, we're losing Matt. Hold on. We'll be right back. And we're back. Matt's new microphone doesn't like him, so it broke. But yeah, it's basically, it's kind of like an Oscar performance movie where if everyone in this movie got nominated, it makes sense. Because everyone has their performance and everyone's really great. I would be in the same boat as you, Mark. I think this movie's good. I do not think it's anywhere near his peak, Aaron Sorkin. But in terms of an improvement from Molly's Game to this movie, everything has been better. Everything, like the directing's better, the writing's better, the performances are better, cinematography's better, the music's better. There's no subtlety in this movie, but there's even less subtlety in Molly's Game. But the lack of subtlety serves a point. It's his more prominent movie. This is Aaron Sorkin, like from an F to like a solid B. Like he just jumps up a lot.
Yeah. Do you guys want to go into? Oh, sorry, Mark.
I was about to say, like, do you guys want to just do a final like
recommendation or
like say like not like a grade, but like would you recommend this movie?
Yeah, I would recommend this movie, especially if you like history. If you're interested in like Vietnam Cold War era times in the U.S., especially right now because there are a lot of protests going on in the U.S. right now, and a a lot of people are hailing it like, oh, this is anarchy in the streets. Like, no, well, clearly, like even in the 60s, there were armored police forces outside the DMC to like control protests. Like, people have been protesting in the U.S. for a long period of time. So I think if you're interested in that kind of stuff, you should definitely watch this movie. If you're interested in courtroom dramas, this is probably like the best you can get. I don't think any of us are particularly knowledgeable in law, so
No.
I don't.
No.
A lot went over my head, but I think someone who likes that kind of stuff or finds would be really interesting. So yeah,
Yeah.
I would recommend it, even though I don't really give it a really particularly high grade.
I would recommend it for the exact same reasons that Matt has just laid out. That's all.
Courtroom dramas, when they're done well, are honestly some of the most exciting like movies out there.
Mm.
Like A Few Good Men is so exciting because it's just these lawyers trying to figure out how to win a case, and half
Yeah.
the movies like that. And so is this. But yeah, those type of movies are the best. I love them. I'm a massive sucker for them. So they're always being on VNC.
Tyler, you are gonna love 12 Angry Men.
I know. I really gotta watch it. Like nothing beats a good courtroom drama because it's just like it has like the standard stuff. But yeah, I'd recommend it. I mean, I'm a pretty big Aaron Sorkin fan, and the more you get into movies, the more you realize people don't really like him a lot. There's a very large base that doesn't like his like over talk, like super talky, kind of like super explained, like over dramatized dialogue. But I kind of really dig it. It creates a really nice pace to movies and
Yeah.
like frantic energy that like a lot of like movies just don't have. And when
Yeah.
you watch a movie by him, you can just tell it's him. I recommend it. It's 2 hours. There's 10 minutes of credits. So the 130 minutes is only about 2 hours. So I'd really recommend it's on Netflix. Go take a look. And now, spoilers. This is a new movie, so we want to give you some leniency. But Mark, you said you want to start off our spoiler section with a quote.
Yes. So after watching the film, I was curious just about the historical accuracy because I knew very little about this event and I wanted to find out more. So I found an article published from the NBC Chicago titled "Prosecutor Recalls Chaotic Scene at 1969 Chicago 7 Trial," and it was posted October 15th. And this is regarding 2020.
Okay.
And this is regarding the character or the person that Joseph Gordon-Levitt plays, federal prosecutor Richard Schultz. So it reads as, Schultz firmly rejects the notion that the defendants in the case were wrongly accused, or the folk heroes that some have painted them as in the ensuing years. They were violent, they're revolutionaries, and they wanted to destroy our federal government, he said, recalling that some had declared in advance of the convention, come to Chicago, we're going to fight in the parks, be prepared to die. So I'm going to read another quote, but I just want to address this real quick. This sort of rejects the notion that he's like fighting for the good guys in the movie, because like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's like you get the notion that he's rooting for them because he has like this sort of not exactly a change of heart, but he's having a dilemma. And then farther down the article, Schultz says, I thought the acting was very good, he said, but he quickly discounted the historic portrayals. Nothing was close to the trial, he insisted. The movie was fun to watch. It's just a fantasy. That's all.
There are a few. So yeah, there are.
I want to just address this real quick. I just want to say, from here on out, I'm going to review this movie on the movie itself and not the portrayal of the historic events.
Yeah, there are a few things that are accurate. Bobby Seale being bound and gagged is a real That's a real thing. However, the ending where Tom Hayden stands up and reads the name of Vietnam, he actually didn't, or all the Vietnam soldiers who died, he didn't.
It was Dellinger.
Dellinger did, but he actually gave like a really Dellinger. That's the guy. No,
Dellinger.
That's a
joke. Making a joke from the film.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. You guys are throwing off my vibes right now.
All right, go.
Basically, he actually gave like a really great speech. If you want to look it up, you can read it. It's a pretty solid speech. So that kind of like speaks to the Sorkin bullshit sentimentality that I don't like, because if you read the speech, it's a wonderful dramatic speech, but instead he chooses like the very comedic like cut out to watch the old man bang the gavel while the court is in like disarray.
And they're like,
yeah, we did it, we overthrew it. And it's like, no, you didn't. It's kind of stuff like that, but like having like the old like angry judge like bang the gavel, order, it's just so bullshit. I hate it. I hate his endings to movies. I really do.
I like the ending.
Did you really? I hate you so much.
Yeah, it was like a C for me for a while. Then that ending happened. I was I don't know, like it really hit me for some reason. Like when she started reading the names, and then he's like, "You will be quiet. You will not
Yeah,
say 5,000 names."
yeah, yeah.
And
And then
Matt,
goes
you're
to
just
Gordon
standing
Levitt
in
and
your room.
goes, "Yeah, that was him going."
Yeah.
But
Read
now that I
the
know that it didn't
names.
actually happen that way, I'm probably gonna go back down to a C for this movie.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I don't, because I'm not really familiar with Aaron Sorkin, so I didn't, other than Social Network, so I didn't really have like this idea that he goes for some over sentimental endings. So I don't know. I like the way it was portrayed, and it wasn't particularly realistic, but I kind of thought that it was powerful in a way. I thought it was clever. I was like, oh, because like I was in the context of thinking that it actually happens. Like, oh, that's a really clever thing to do.
Yeah.
But now that I know it didn't actually
Yeah.
happen that way, I'm kind of like, oh, that's really lame.
No. It's
Right.
it's so like, okay, so for example, in Steve Jobs. Steve
Yeah.
Jobs is a horrible human being. Horrible
Yeah.
person. He's done horrible things to his daughter. And in Steve Jobs' broke down, Mark, you've seen it, right?
I haven't seen it recent enough to remember much. Even
Wait,
Okay.
from
was he like
2015.
abusive or?
He's an
Completely
abusive.
neglectful.
Yeah,
Oh,
neglectful. So the movie's broken down into 3 acts. Each is like before like a major release of an Apple product. And in that third act, the entire conflict is him being like an asshole to his daughter going to college. There's this power struggle. And in the last 3 minutes, he fucking like becomes like this great dad. And it's like he's like blah blah and like does like this like big impassioned speech. And it takes all the wind out of like the previous movies because it's you get an hour and 40 minutes of who Steve Jobs is, and he's manipulative, he's controlling, he's demanding, he's neglectful, and that's completely thrown away for 3 minutes to get that kind of feel good ending. And he does it in A Few Good Men too, where it's established that this soldier won't salute Tom Cruise because he doesn't fight for like the truth or doesn't fight for what's right and like honor and code, and it's all kind of bullshit. And at the end, like the soldier turns around in the courtroom and salutes Tom Cruise, and the movie walks off. The music's playing, and you're like, "Fuck you, you're stupid." You're like, "I hate you." I always leave Aaron Sorkin movies like mad. I'm always like, I'm turning them off. I'm like, "Fuck you." And they does it
you
in
love
this movie.
Michelangelo Antonioni.
Oh my
There's no
god.
sentiments in any of his
Oh, thank
endings.
God. I can't wait. But in this one, like knowing like as soon as it's like, okay, it's a very political movie. Aaron Sorkin is very much telling us his stance on politics in this movie throughout. And to have him like make up that ending that just feels like it's just him celebrating all the politics he established before, his anti-establishment, kind of like fight the system, kind of like thinking, and then he just celebrates it without it actually being true. Really, like it just takes the wind out of the sail for me. It's like
Yeah.
it's such a difficult way to end a movie for me.
It was like
Yeah.
I'm gonna make a weird comparison, but the Girl in Shine Tattoo series,
Yeah.
in book 3 when it's like all like the super liberal good guys versus all the evil conservative old men bad guys.
Yep.
And it's, I mean, I think Girl Looks Horns is much better than this, but it's like that same mentality where you have like that writer, the screenwiter or author, like
Yeah.
really plugging his own politics and really like it's
Yeah.
really like glossy in a
Yeah.
way. And I don't know. I feel kind of manipulated now knowing that it didn't actually happen that way. So I'm kind of sort of turning on the movie a little bit more as I talk about it.
Well, what do you guys think about the kind of like the lack of subtlety in this movie? Because it's very apparent. Like there's no like characters will often just say the politics and the ideas that Sorkin is thinking.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
liked it. Oh, sorry.
yeah, I'll go. I don't mind that stuff. I actually really I like it when movies are blunt and you know, you just not subtle in the slightest. Those are some, I think one of my favorite scenes is where it's just so like the characters are sort of explaining things out, and it's like, sure you can critique it, but I love that. I love that stuff so much.
Yeah.
This is like these are the kind of movies that I'm like an absolute sucker for.
Mhm.
And I was ready to give this an A up until like the last like 40 minutes, and then it sort of tapered off. But I really enjoyed unsubtle movies. So yeah.
Yeah, I liked it when they were discussing, like when the people on trial themselves, when Eddie Redmayne's character and Abby Hoffman, who's Sacha Baron Cohen's character, when they're talking about their own political ideologies, how
Yep.
they're both kind of like labeled as these radical liberals, but then when they start talking and discussing, you find out that they have different philosophies on what winning is.
Yep.
So that stuff was
Yes.
cool.
Yeah.
That was the scene that I love.
Yes, that was a good scene. But then it gets into that American-made territory sometimes where it just feels like you're watching people talk to you about historical events, but that's all it is. Like there's no
Yeah.
real characters to latch onto, especially in the middle for me. This movie is much better than American Made. I want to clarify that
Yeah.
American Made is like one of the worst movies I've ever seen.
American
But
Made, we should also explain, is a 2017 Tom Cruise movie directed by Doug Liman.
which you think would be great because I've
Yeah.
tomorrow, but it's terrible. It's absolutely
It's
garbage.
it's not great.
Yeah.
even like we went with someone who is not the biggest fan of movies, and she left, and she's like, like that.
It was just Tom Cruise like just telling you what happens in the movie. Okay,
Yeah.
let's just stop talking about that movie. That movie's terrible. But I wish there was more infighting between the people on trial, because they're all represent different aspects of the left, but it would have been cool because they're all trapped with each other for 200 days, something crazy like that.
Yeah.
I wish there was more infighting between them and there was more of a struggle, but at the end they all kind of get along, and it's kind of boring that way.
Yeah, the movie definitely feels like one focusing on the events rather than the characters. But in terms of subtlety, I'm kind of with you, Mark. I think it works. I think it's a case by case basis for me. I think it works in this movie to a certain extent. One thing that really stands out, and this kind of goes into a little bit of a negative for me, is when Sacha Baron Cohen is doing his stand-up scenes, and his stand-up scenes are just exposition as to what's happening it's just us, it's him telling the audience what's happening in the scenes. I think that lack of subtlety, instead of showing, the tell don't show kind of mentality, I don't think it works then. But you're right, when they're like battling ideologies, it's the most engaging stuff of the movie, even more than the courtroom drama, because Aaron Sorkin establishes these very interesting characters. And these performances are all wonderful. Like, everyone in this movie is firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
Everyone's doing great. But the movie shines away from that too much and focuses on rather the corruption, or not the corruption, but how political thinkings and political ideologies bleed into a supposedly impartial and unbiased courtroom, and how that that injustice was carried out. When in actuality, the far more interesting thing about the movie might actually be the people involved in the trial. Yeah. And Aaron Sorkin seems to shine away from that a little bit. It's not major, because I do think he handles the courtroom drama stuff well, and it's engaging, and I think it's paced well, and I think it's written well. But you're right, Matt. There's a certain point where it's just like the personalities are starting to take over. Like, what's his name? Ruben and Hoffman are like, they come in with the robes, and they take them off, and they're in police uniforms. And you're like, this is like, I love these characters. Like, these characters are great. They're not characters. I like these people. Show me more of them. I don't want to see like the judge. Like, we know the judge is.
There's so much time just dedicated to the judge being a jerk, and it's just so unnecessary.
Yeah.
Well, I think I read that he was the judge was criticized for years and years.
It's at the end of the movie they said that.
Yeah.
Right. That's okay. All right, I didn't read that. Like,
it's like 78% of any like people, like any not lawmakers, like lawyers or anything, view the judge's acts and decisions as like unjustly.
Yeah.
Things like that. Like, it was just like a horrible case all around. And you can see that when it was eventually appealed in the U.S., they were like, we don't want to do this all over again. And then they got off. So, yeah, there is a lot of time dedicated to this. I'm hesitant to use the word cartoonishly evil, but this manifestation of corrupt politics. Yeah, of the system. There's too much time dedicated to that. But that's also Sorkin's stance on politics.
Yeah.
Like, he views this clearly as a version of corruption in some stance. And
I was waiting for some sort of background on the judge to see why he thinks the way he does, but you don't really get that either. It's pretty like there's no real like questioning and morality. Like, there's like that one scene where you find out Eddie Redmayne like said, "Oh, I want blood in the street," and that's the only real instance where there's any sort of moral gray area.
Yep.
But
well, actually, that's taken off when he said.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, is that then ends up not really being true.
Yeah, that ends up not being true. He said are like the possessive pronouns, and you're just like that also could have been like, I don't know. There's like a few things. I don't know what you guys thought, because this is one of my other big. I mentioned there's peaks in this movie, and for me, the two peaks are the Take the Hill scene, where it's like it's the first confrontation, and then the Bobby Seale being bound and gagged, and then the actual inciting action for this entire movie is the actual Chicago riots, and they felt so lackluster to me. It felt like we were like viewing it from too far of a distance, and it didn't feel like we got the weight to actually see why the characters were there and being charged, because instead we're cut away and Sacha Baron Cohen is explaining things and they're arguing, and it's just like, it feels like you're just like, I don't feel like I'm getting enough from this.
So I was confused because there's two different like protests that happened. So
Yeah.
I was really confused as to which protest they were. Well, I realized later on it's the taking of the hill. That's why they're all in trial. But then there was that protest earlier that I thought was why that Sacha Baron Cohen and the other guy were on trial
No,
for.
where they go to bail out Tom Hayden.
When they when they just those two guys protesting with their group and the guys doing like the chanting thing,
When they're all
the
walking down the
humming.
street.
Yeah, and then like the cops are all
Yeah,
there.
that's the take the hill scene because they all go back to the park and then they're flanked by police officers
Oh, okay.
and then later on is the actual Chicago
Yeah.
riots.
Then the ride happens and it's like you get the perspective of these random characters inside a bar.
Yeah.
And it was so weird.
Yeah, it feels very it feels
Yeah.
very like detached from this because the take the hill scene. Sorry, Mark.
Well, the point of that was sort of like to highlight what Sacha Baron or Abby Hoffman was saying, where it was like it was 50s in the bars, 60s in the streets, to show you the contrast
Yeah,
of
but the
what's
thing
going
is
on.
though, it's the inciting action of the movie. It's why all the main characters that we've just spent all this time with are on trial because of these Chicago riots. Yes, there's like this history of political unrest and that they have they are known figures in this in our world or whatever, but they're on trial because of their actions with the Chicago riot. We see Tom Hayden, what we believe to be like start the riots, and then we
Yeah.
don't really get the riots, and then we don't like it's just kind of glossed over a little bit.
Well, I think again, this is where like the accuracy of the historical events comes into play. But when former Attorney General Ramsey Clark takes a stand, which is
Yep.
Michael Keaton's character, he says it was determined internally that the riots were incited by the police.
Yeah.
I mean, so the protesters weren't starting it; they were just sort of they took off their badges and then the brawl happened. So I don't like. I think we're like if you're sort of like hoping for like a scene that we didn't get, it might be like we're sort of like rewriting history almost, where it's like, oh, let's just create like a big riot thing that didn't really happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right? Does that make sense? Do you know what I'm
Well, the thing
saying?
is, though, it's like the events are interspliced with actual footage of the riots and the Take the Hill battle kind of stuff like that. So there is like, I don't know. My thing is the Take the Hill scene is filmed so well. It's just like it's hazy because of all the tear gas and it's chaotic and there's like shots of people getting clubbed.
It feels like a documentary. It feels like
Yeah.
you're a camera in there.
Yeah, you
So,
feel it, and
that's
there's like
cool.
little things going on. Like there's like someone's about to be raped, and just like you're like Jesus, like, and you see these cops like beating these people, and you're like holy shit. And then you get to the actual riots, the stuff that the characters are on trial for, because they're not on trial for the Take the Hill incident. They're on trial because of the Chicago riots. They were, as Abby Hoffman says, they were chosen because of it. But we don't actually like see the riot. It's just like it's a quick like they all run away, they like get hit and stuff like that, and they get cornered, and it feels like very like detached from the bigger events. It feels like here are our main characters, but again, historical accuracy is kind of like up in the air a little bit, like on that kind of stuff. We don't really know, but for me, thematically, wasn't as good as what came earlier. Like I don't know what you guys thought. Like do you think like the peak of this movie is earlier? Like Mark, you said the like it turns down. Like what point did it
Yeah.
turn down for you?
I'd say for me the peak was when Tom Hayden is given like that pseudo questioning where he's on the stand with him and William Kunstler in the house.
Yep.
Like that's when you get like the cut, like you see the footage of like the second riot, I guess you could say.
That's the Chicago riot. That's the main one.
Okay, the Chicago riot.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was probably the peak for me, and then after that, it's sort of like a short tapering off, I guess. There's like at that point, there's like 20 minutes left, but yeah, that was the peak for me. Yeah, I'm sort of losing my train of thought here.
Yeah.
I just want to throw out there that Dellinger never punched the person. He's probably one of the only few people that lived and died with holding his like beliefs. He was like a devout pacifist. So the fact that they had that one scene where he punched him and was like, "I'm sorry," that never happened, and it feels really weird.
It was kind of pointless because it didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, he's like, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry." It's like, is that just to show that he's like stingent in his, or he's like that headstrong in his beliefs? Like, why'd he punch him?
That he's so broken by being stuck on trial for months and months.
But that didn't happen in real life. He remained like a devout pacifist. for his
Yeah, well, I'm
entire
just saying
life.
in the context of the movie that they're trying to show that the psychological damage of,
Yeah.
being on trial for so long is,
Yeah.
bad for you. But this movie, I don't really have a specific moment where I got detached or I got bored. It just kind of gradually happened as the movie was going on. Like one point I was like, why is Michael Keaton here? Like I don't get this.
Yeah,
And
right.
just
Yeah.
like things like that. And then I was actually the Eddie Redmayne like mock trial thing that he does was when I was kind of getting back into it.
Yep.
Because but then it really ended up making any sense because then you kind of realize later that he didn't mean that he was going to um
Yeah.
incite people. Like why didn't he just say that when they were doing the speech? Like when he was being questioned, but whatever. I was getting more into it then, and then like I said, I liked the ending, but now I don't really like it as much now. But at the time, I liked it. It just very gradual in the middle part. I was kind of just like, okay, where is this go? Like, is this American-made territory? We're just watching people redo the historical events that happened, and I would have liked it a lot more as a book. That's what I was thinking of at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is what I was sort of talking about earlier, where like you need like some time to like figure out where the movie's going, because
Yeah.
like when Michael Keaton shows up, you're like, okay, this is great, but why is he here? And it takes you like a few minutes to realize like, oh, former attorney general, they determined, it was the police that started the riot, yeah, stuff like that. And then I also like, I don't know if you guys feel this way, but like once it's like they have the mock trial and they realize like Tom Hayden just has a weird way of saying possessive pronouns. They determine that, and then it kind of that plot point doesn't really go anywhere. They don't really utilize it in court,
Yeah, it's Sacha Baron
right?
Cohen that has to talk about Eddie Redmayne when he's
Yeah,
called up to the stand.
but like that specific point of like Tom Hayden's use of the possessive pronoun, that's not brought up in court. So it kind of feel. I mean, Tara, I see that you sort of disagreeing with me.
No, I don't know. I'm kind of like I'm in the middle of ground between you guys because there's clearly like their relationship is at a certain point is like a certain like not crux but important aspect of the movie because they are seen as the two kind of like leaders of these seven. So their clashing ideologies is a point in the movie where you learn
Yeah.
like they have Matt. You said they have a different perspective on winning, and that kind of action of the our possessive pronouns and then not bringing up in court, I feel like is their way of showing unity in a sense because I don't know. It does feel weird.
Yeah.
Aaron Sorkin is a big fan of the aha, I got you dialogue where like if you look at like Michael Keaton's scene, Michael Keaton's in this movie. He's great. I love Michael Keaton in this movie because he comes in and acts everybody under the rug, I feel like.
As in
But
every movie.
as in every movie. But there's like he definitely has that dialogue where like Eddie Redmayne's like, you gotta show some courage, and he's like, I just brought these people here to be like, call me to the judge, like call me, like I'll be your witness, and then he's like, how's that for courage? Or it's like the judge is like, in all my years, I've never been accused of being the racist. This is the first time, and the other guy's like, I'm the second time, and you're like, oh shit, you're like, oh damn. Aaron Sorkin fucking loves that kind of stuff. That little like, boom, gotcha dialogue. And the more you watch his movies, the more it's just like, yeah, like that's just one of his trademarks. He likes setting up like conflict to get that final like, gotcha.
Yeah.
A little moment.
Just from like a writing standpoint, it'd be kind of weird to have Eddie Redmayne like have the revelation of the hour R thing happen twice.
Yeah.
Like I mean, but then again, why would you even have him say it in the mistrial? Like, wouldn't it have been more impactful if like the plaintiff group was going to like they had the got him moment where they're going to play the tape or whatever, but then the defendants already knew it was coming, so they're like, oh, I'm not saying R. I mean, I'm not saying our. I'm saying R. Like it would have been something cool like that. Like why? Like I understand why they didn't have it twice because it just would have been weird. But why wouldn't you just have it on the trial?
Well, this also bleeds into like historical accuracy of the trial because if we view the events of what happens in the movie as like pseudo history or in some capacity some history, we just witnessed the judge basically throw out the Ramsey Clark's case where he's like, yeah, these people, we determined that they weren't the cause of the riots. To throw it out, but then have the big moment be a thing around possessive pronouns.
Yeah.
Feels like it would just be like in comparison to what we've seen before, and to make that the big like, haha, they are like, oh my goodness, Thomas Hayden is, I almost call it Thomas Hayden Church. Thomas Hayden, he's not like he didn't actually start the riots. Feels very like muted, especially when we have.
Well,
a
I mean, not
scene.
really, because it has to do with their whole plaintiff case of saying, "Oh, he's actually an aggressor." It's not just pronouns. It's not a grammar lecture. It has to do with the whole basis of what his
But we
accusation is.
just had the judge throw out a case where we saw that they weren't the aggressor. Ramsey Clark was like, yeah, my Justice Department found evidence that the police were involved, like they're responsible for the riots. We know they're not the aggressor because we just had it. So you're right,
Yeah.
having that reveal would have been like what you said, another reveal, but the same thing that we already know.
Mhm.
It's weird. It's just weird. It's like, you're right. It's just a weird inclusion, and it's like one of those parts where this movie's good, but it's flawed.
Yeah.
There are
You also
lots
talk
of
about
flaws.
the actual filmmaking at all, because I feel like there's nothing particularly spectacular. Because I mean, we could talk about the trial and the historical events all day, but
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
this is also a movie. I mean,
Yeah.
did any of the shots stick out to you? Did the music stick out to you at all? Like, what about the
Well,
filmmaking?
well, yeah. Sorry, I cut you off, Matt.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I didn't think there's anything particularly unique about the filmmaking itself. There's some weird. You can tell he got some David Fincher influence, especially in dark room scenes, like when they're back in their hotel or whatever,
Yep.
and like playing things out. Like it has like that weird like smoky lighting, and there's like these really kind of like there's like these faded lamps and everything. It feels like a Fincher movie sometimes.
Feels like The Social
but
Network.
Yeah. Again, it feels like the Social Network. Yeah.
Well, there's two
But
things I want to address.
yeah.
So one, I don't know if it's just my projector not working correctly, but I felt like some of the court scenes were a little too dark. It kind of bothered me a little bit. I mean, I guess the reason why the courtroom had different changes of light was because different times of the day. But at some points I was like, what's going on? I can't really see Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Second, and I've mentioned this before, I despise it when not a monkey, a movie.
I hate monkeys.
Is this the Joe Rogan podcast? No.
He has so much more money than we do. We hope we can beat him.
Yeah. Maybe if we talk about chimps more. Do you guys see that clip I sent you about never mind. That famous clip of Joe Rogan talking about...
I didn't watch it.
I didn't watch
it. Okay, anyway. I do not like it when a movie plays that sentimental music. This is how you're supposed to feel right now. It's sad, it's somber, or it's happy, it's upgoing, or whatever. I can't take it. I cannot take it when that happens. And that happens
Mark
twice.
smashed his projector during the last scene, like a monkey. He went because I'm on Space Odyssey.
Started throwing his own poop.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was the dawn of man in my room last night.
Yes.
Yeah, I do not. The music bothered me a lot. Those are my two. Those are probably. I guess the me complaining with the dark courtroom scenes is not exactly a complaint. I don't know if it was just me or anything, but the music bothered me a lot. But yeah.
So, I've seen his other directed movie, Molly's Game. Have I told you I've seen Molly's Game yet? I don't think I've.
You saw Molly's Game? I didn't know.
I saw Molly's Game.
I saw Money's Game.
Yeah,
that was Money's Game.
So that
Molly's
movie
Ball
is so abhorrently directed. I hate that movie. It's horribly directed, horribly shot.
How so? Can you tell us?
It's like it's basic. It does not feel like a director with. It does not feel like there's anything creative or unique about it.
It's the Tyler of directing.
It's the Tyler of directing. It's flat. It's only shot reverse shot. There's nothing visually interesting. The only time there's like something interesting, it's shot horribly with use of slow motion, and it's honestly just establishing shot of Jessica Chastain and the things and There's nothing visually engaging. And the reason why I have no problem really with the directing of this movie is because it feels like David Fincher light. This feels like someone trying to mirror David Fincher's directing style. There's sometimes like shots that linger a little bit and shots that kind of carry over and follow the movement of the characters. And I can't say it's anything special, but my bar for him directing was so low that the fact that it was competent is like perfect for me. Because it feels like, you're right, there's a lot of like David Fincher style, like the lights often in the background and illuminating the characters.
Very smoky.
It's very smoky. Even like the courtroom is, like you said, Mark, it is a little dark. But again, my bar was so like in the earth. I hated Molly's Game. Hated the way he directed that movie. And the fact that he like came out and is clearly improving in some capacity, fine for me. I can give it a pass. He's improving, and I think is the best part. And if you guys watch Molly's Game, you'll see like, holy shit, this movie's like terribly directed.
Mm-hmm.
And it might like lighten up a little bit for the Trial of Chicago 7 for you. But
Yeah.
The music, there's not really a score outside of the dramatic moments in the end. When when the movie wants it to be a dramatic moment, that like rumbling and like not instrumental kind of score plays, and then when the music stops, so does the dramatic moment. Not really a score, anything else. It's fine. Like it's passable for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, nothing very particularly inspiring. It just feels like he got like the visual aspects of David Fincher without really understanding like the directorial camera movement aspects of David Fincher.
Yep.
David Fincher actually has a very active camera in
Yeah.
his movies, and this movie doesn't really have. Again, there's no really tracking shots. It's very other than the documentary-esque scenes.
Yep.
It's very like flatly shot, and again, there really isn't anything interesting about the cinematography, right? Nothing very interesting about the score. It just feels like that stuff was kind of like, okay, I feel like all the attention was dedicated to the script. As you can tell, because we talked about the script for like 40 minutes, and now we're on every other aspect of the movie. We had nothing really to say.
Well, yeah, I want to talk about the editing.
Okay.
I thought the editing was really good, especially in the mock trial scene, and when you get the sort of the scenes where it's Sacha Baron Cohen doing the stand up, and you get sort of like the storytelling of what happened. I really enjoyed the editing. I thought that was a strong point of the movie. I don't know about you guys.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's fine.
It's fine. Like again, in Steve Jobs, there's the scene that mirrors very much to the Eddie Redmayne mock trial scene where it's characters yelling and things happening across, like it's like spaced out. And in Steve Jobs, it becomes a little too much because you have the same characters yelling at each other in two different timelines, but they're interspersed. So it's like, what the fuck's happening?
Yeah.
And in this one, it was a little better, but then you have like a shot of Sacha Baron Cohen in the middle describing to the audience what's happening. I would say editing is fine because I think like I love the Sacha Baron Cohen parts, but like anytime the movie cut back to him at the stand-up trial, it felt like it was a different movie. And I think that inclusion is stuff that could have been cut. And because of that, I think the movie is like a little superfluous at times, specifically in those scenes.
Okay.
It does feel very pointless.
I think that they're able to. I had to credit this movie for giving it a 130-minute length. Like they could have easily like made this movie like 2.5 hours long, considering the
it's not even
everything they're
130
covering.
minutes. It's 2 hours.
What?
It's 2 hours, not 130 minutes. It's 10-minute credits.
Well, I mean, the runtime says 130 minutes, but yeah,
Well,
it's 2 hours.
I looked at the end because the movie ended and said 10 minutes and 15
yeah, well, I have
seconds.
a point to make, so you can be quiet. And you have to give it credit for being able to condense it, and I felt like the story made enough sense to me, because even though it was on the shorter side. So I would praise the editing for managing to get a lot of the meat across without having too many superfluous scenes, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Other than in the middle where it kind of feels a little like lost.
I was curious about the editor. It's Alan Baumgarten, and he's done Charlie's Angels, Venom, The Cloverfield Paradox, Molly's Game.
All great movies.
Oh yeah.
Trumbo, Joy, American Hustle, Zombieland, Dinner for Schmucks, and some other ones in the 2000s.
Wait, can you read
Dinner
them
for Schmucks is a great movie.
Wait, can you read them one more time? Can we pinpoint the best movie? So
Dinner for Schmucks. There.
Charlie's Angels.
No.
The new one.
Yeah, no.
Venom. Obviously, his alma mater, or not alma mater. His
Venom's
magnum opus.
underrated. Venom's good. I like Venom. We saw Venom, Mark. Venom's fun.
I think I almost pissed myself laughing when he went in the lobster tank
Was
eating the lobsters. I was so I was like when we saw Warcraft, how absurd it was. That's how I felt watching Venom.
Recommending Warcraft.
Yeah, I'd love to do that again. The Cloverfield Paradox, which I haven't seen since it came out.
It's bad.
A movie that starts out so intriguingly, and then it just totally tapers off in the worst way.
Then they realize it's not actually a Cloverfield movie. They just put the Cloverfield title on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, J.J. Abrams was like, oh, shit, we got to tie this in somehow.
Yep.
Molly's Game.
Nope.
Yeah.
I don't know how the editing was in that.
Nope. Nope.
Trumbo.
2.5 hours. Trumbo's fine.
I heard Trumbo's good.
It's fine.
He worked with David O. Russell on Joy and American Hustle.
Fine. American Hustle's good.
Zombieland.
Zombieland's good.
And
Dinner for Schmucks.
Dinner for Schmucks, as well as a few others.
Dinner for Schmucks is the best of all of those.
So Dinner
movie.
for Schmucks. So his rankings for editing goes Dinner for Schmucks, Venom,
Zombieland. Oh, Trumbo Zombieland. Wait.
No, Venom Zombieland.
Everything else is tied for fourth.
Everything else tied
Yeah.
for fourth.
Jennifer Lawrence is confirmed the best movie of all time.
Yeah, because Michelangelo Antolini said it was.
Antonioni.
Antonioni said it was.
Tyler going to Italy.
What?
Where's Michelangelo Antonioni?
What's his name again?
Michelangelo
What if
Antonioni.
is he dead?
Yeah.
What if he was like before he died, he saw Dinner for Schmucks. He's like, "This is the greatest movie I've ever seen."
Then he
and
died.
died.
So you've never seen another movie as good as Dinner for
died.
Schmucks. He felt like he was a failure.
Would that make it then the best movie of all time? Because if Mark's theorem, Kubrick, Bergman, Tarkovsky, Antonioni.
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 He's going to call him Michelangelo Ravioli.
Michelangelo Ravioli was like...
Linguini Ravioli.
Kubrick, Bergman, Tarkovsky, Ravioli, Dinner for Schmucks.
Steve Carell, Dinner for Schmucks.
Steve Carell, Dinner for Schmucks. We did it. We broke the movie code.
Yes.
All right. Hallmark scenes?
Michelangelo Antonioni died a long time ago. Like, not a long time ago, but he died before Dinner for Schmucks, I think.
He missed out. He really missed out. All right.
It was
Hallmark
like Roger
scenes.
Ebert giving Amazing Spider-Man 1 like a 3.5 stars out of 4.
Did he
back
really?
when he was like losing his mind or whatever.
He wasn't losing his mind.
He
He was
wasn't
dying from
losing
like
his mind.
cancer.
He had jaw cancer.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but like, you know, a product, you know,
You're
psychological
digging yourself
damage
in a
of having
hole.
cancer.
Just digging yourself in a hole right now.
The psychological damage of having cancer impacted him.
Maybe that
Yeah,
was like
that
he
makes
needed some
sense.
joy. Maybe Spider-Man brought him joy. You know. All
They're
right.
at
You
the
know
part where
what?
they turn to lizards.
That's his evil plan. I'm gonna turn the world to lizards.
Yeah.
We're him in that movie. Hallmark scenes.
I can just list them off right now. I'll do
Go
my
for it.
three. I'll do my
You
favorite.
guys don't
last.
understand the point of Hallmark scenes. You don't just have one.
We're doing nominations, and then we pick one.
Well, you're only not supposed to nominate one.
I'll say the ones that I love the most, and then I will.
We're gonna nominate him, Matt.
I will nominate mine. Okay, so my Hallmark scenes for me: Michael Keaton's first scene where he's introduced, where you're like, "Oh, Michael Keaton's here." 2, Michael Keaton's testimony. 3, when Abby and Jerry take off their judicial robes, and you see the cop uniforms underneath. The mock trial, and then my favorite scene is the clash between Abby and Tom about the ways to make systemic changes. That's my favorite. That's my nomination.
Bastard.
Yeah.
There's no Take the Hill or The Bound and Gag, Bobby
No,
says.
mine's the systemic. Mine's the clash in ideologies between Abby Hoffman and Tom.
Well, I actually didn't even
So that-
have that on that list, honestly. I had
Yeah, well,
Michael
you're
Keaton.
stupid, so you
I know.
know.
You're a
stupid.
fraud.
I had Michael Keaton's, sudden appearance where he's just like eating popcorn. He's like, "What's up?" And you're like, "Yeah, it's Michael Keaton." I have the Bobby Seale Bound and Gag, and then the Take the Hill. I'd probably say the Bound and Gag scene for me. I think it's just the most impactful scene in the movie. I think you just feel the biggest like weight of like, holy shit. And then
Well,
you
you're
find
wrong.
out.
So you know the Abby Hoffman.
Well, okay,
just
so
seen as the
it's a really
Hallmark
great
scene.
scene, and that kind of shows Sacha Baron Cohen's a great actor, even though we already knew that. So he's great. In
Well, he's from. Guess where he's from?
Britain. He's British.
Well, I know that, like Abby Hoffman.
Oh, he's from Massachusetts.
He's from Worcester.
He's from Worcester.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh
So,
my god.
his accent definitely gets better as the movie goes on, but like those first couple scenes, he was like way out of left field.
Trial. Just like,
Yeah.
oh. Yeah. So we're not. So the winner for Hallmark scene is the Abby Hoffman Hayden clash of ideologies. Mark sleepy time moments. Mark falls asleep in movies, wakes up, cop 5 stars, writes him in his book, even though he doesn't have a letterbox. But basically, yeah, it's our low points in the movie, scenes we didn't like. Mine's very clearly ending. That one shot where the judge's like, order, and boom,
Order in the court.
order, and
I
then
will
hate it.
have order.
I'm nominating the end, like final speech, sentimental
Yeah.
bullshit.
I nominate that as well.
Matt,
I like that scene. I'm nominating just like the middle.
You gotta pick one
Just like the
scene.
entire middle part.
Wow. Roger Ebert would be proud of you.
Yeah, Matt just chooses 30 minutes. What's one scene? Give us one scene.
One scene that I really didn't like.
Is it Sacha Baron Cohen saying trial?
No, that was funny. When you cut to the people in the bar, like the night lounge during the protest.
Okay,
That just
fair.
felt like just felt so weird.
Well, you're
That's-
stupid.
that's the
and
scene I nominated.
we're doing the end scene. We're doing the end scene.
All right.
You know,
I'm cool with that. Whatever. Because
Yeah.
like now I don't like it anymore, knowing the context.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. That's any final points, or should we go right to grades?
Just go right to grades.
Right to grades. All right, we grade stuff. If you don't know who we are, we grade stuff on an A, B, C, D, F scale. I don't know why
No
anymore.
plus or minuses because
No plus or
Tyler just
minuses.
decided he didn't want it, and
It's
now he can make fun
unique.
of
We're
him for it.
creative, but now we fucked it up because
It's
I gave
unique
the
to an ABCDF grade,
but
the
no
grade that
plus.
everyone does.
Well, here's the thing that we messed it up. I messed my B's up because I gave the Marine a B, and Mark gave Dune 1984 a B. But he
Well, that's
actually
not
didn't.
canon, so
But
we
that's
don't
not
even know
canon.
if it actually happened or not.
So Mark, you're free. I gave the Marine a B, and I'm on record by that. So Matt, what would you give the Trial of Chicago 7, written and directed by
I'm
Aaron
gonna give it
Sorkin?
like a high C.
High C.
Yeah. Just from all the points I've already made. It occasionally reaches that low B range to me, but I think it's more consistently a C, so I can't really give it a B.
Mark, what would you give the Trial of Chicago 7?
Yeah, I sort of this whole review been, I don't want to say like dogging on it, but like I've really enjoyed this film. Like this is my favorite like genre of film. Just these very political, in your face sort of movies.
Yep.
But from like a film standpoint, like there are a lot of faults in it. So I would give it a B. But like this is like such a great story, and I can definitely see myself like rewatching this at some point. So B.
Mark, you say you don't want to seem like you've been dogging on it. I have been dogging on it, but regardless of that, any movie that kind of brings out enough of like an emotional impact out of you and like it resonates enough, the movie's doing its job successfully in some capacity. I'm gonna give this movie a B. I do think it is. I do think its highs are excellent. I think this movie has some wonderful and really great stuff. It's a good but flawed movie, and I think that's ultimately kind of it's going to be its legacy. But I can also see if someone's like, "This is my favorite movie, 2020. Absolutely adore this movie." I can see it, and if someone's like, "This movie sucks,"
Some radical liberal.
yeah. Shut up. But yeah, I'm gonna give this movie a B. So I give it a B.
Neil
Mark gave it a
Druckmann
B.
would give it a A.
Neil Druckmann, yeah, would give it an absolute A. B. Mark gives it a B. Matt gives it a C. So that's our Trial of Chicago 7 review. Now we're gonna get to our what we've been watching section. Mark, I think you have the least amount of stuff. Do you want to go first?
I have two movies.
That's it. What have you been doing?
Well, I'm getting back into the groove of watching more movies.
Okay.
I watched 2 weeks ago. I watched After Hours by Martin Scorsese. Directed. It was directed and came out in 1985. I watched it because Roger Ebert held it up like in the highest like his like favorite Scorsese films, and I was like, damn, I gotta watch this. And the reason I found out about this movie is because I'd seen Scorsese's film Cape Fear, which is on Netflix. You can watch it. Stars Robert De Niro.
Is it still on Netflix?
It's still on Netflix.
Okay.
It's an intense movie. And it's a remake of a film that came out in the 50s with Gregory Peck and Robert Mitchum. But like in Roger Ebert's review, he talks about like this movie has like a lot of weak points. And, you know, you'd expect more from the guy who directed Taxi Driver, Raging Bull, After Hours, and Goodfellas.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I haven't seen After Hours. Maybe I should go check that out. And it's on HBO. That's how I watch it. I got a free trial. And it's an hour and 36 minutes, which is
It's
really
also on
short.
Amazon Prime, by the way. Just want to throw that out there.
Is?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. It's an hour and 36 minutes, really short for Scorsese, and it takes place in one night in Manhattan.
Ooh, I already like it.
And it is phenomenal. It is I don't think it, by far it's not his best made film, but it was just like at like in the first like 20 minutes there's a scene that happens, and you know when you're watching like a movie for the first time and things start unfolding in front of you and you're like, oh my God, this is amazing. I cannot believe what I'm watching. That's what happened to me in this film. And I was just like, my jaw hit the floor. I was like, holy crap. And so I absolutely love this film. I'm going to rewatch it many more times. I'd probably hold it up like it's
How many
like
more?
either that or I'd say probably I'm going to watch it without subtitles, and then I got to watch it upside down.
You have to watch it in Chinese.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I gotta watch it.
Mandarin.
I gotta watch it at 2 a.m. and then
Yeah.
at 4 a.m.
And then you have to turn the volume. And then you have to turn the entire TV off and watch it.
Yeah, you have to watch the black screen.
Yeah, for an hour and 36 minutes.
Yes.
I'm like, this is what Scorsese wanted.
Then clap at the end.
Yeah, and then clap at the end.
If you don't clap, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You didn't really even watch it. You don't clap at the end.
So I'd hold it up there with Goodfellas, like as for like how much I love this film.
Damn.
Goodfellas, is a much better made film. I mean, Goodfellas is just flawless in every sense of the word. And Tyler, I cannot believe you still haven't watched it.
I haven't
I
seen a
haven't
lot
seen
of
Pulp
Scorsese.
Fiction either, so
I haven't seen a lot of
Yeah.
Scorsese movies. I have to. I know.
And The Big Lebowski. I haven't seen The Big Lebowski.
I own the Big Lebowski. Shut up, all of you. Shut up. I'm better.
Owning it is the same thing as watching it.
Yes, The
As clearly you don't
Godfather.
know.
What? What? Hey.
Yeah,
Hey.
yeah. Well, obviously, since Tyler hasn't seen Goodfellas or Godfather or any Michelangelo Antonioni films, obviously he's scared of Italians. That's
Yes.
the logical conclusion here.
Yeah. Well, you scared of me, so that obviously makes
Yeah,
sense.
that intimidates me. So clearly, yeah, it's
Yeah.
Italian.
Yeah. So I watched After Hours. It was amazing. Highly recommend. The other movie I watched was another Scorsese film. His film after Hours. It's called The Color of Money.
You
Starring
watched the Tom Cruise too? Yeah. How was it?
Tom Cruise and Paul Newman. The movie is solid. It's a good movie. Tom Cruise is at his cruisiest
Yes.
in this film. He is like, it literally, it felt to me like it was Scorsese said, "Okay, Tom, just go. Just go. I'm not gonna give you any dialogue. Just do your thing, and I'm gonna record it." That's what it felt because like
Wow.
Tom Cruise is like, "Yeah, pool balls."
I gotta
and
watch this movie now.
Yeah, it's on Prime Video. It's 2 hours, so it doesn't feel overtly long or anything. But it's good. It's a good movie. If it was from anybody but Scorsese, I'd say, wow, this is actually quite a surprise. But in the context of Scorsese's filmography, it's like, you just did After Hours, man. You've done Taxi Driver and Raging Bull. This feels a little bit, I don't know, on the weaker side. But it's got that like Scorsese energy where like the camera's moving fast and
A big
all this stuff's
Scorsese energy.
happening. Yeah, but the ending for me like felt like you know what I'm talking about. And the ending, I wasn't a fan of the ending, but if you're a Tom Cruise fan, like Mr. Tyler over here, check it out.
Yeah, I'm going to. Are you kidding
Also,
me?
Paul Newman's in it, and like he's phenomenal as well.
Who cares? Tom Cruise is in it. He overshadows everyone.
Yeah. So that's what I watched. Color of Money and After Hours. I recommend both.
Matt,
Well,
what did you
I
watch?
watched a lot of movies.
So did I.
I watched The Social Network. It's great. I mean, we talked about it a lot in our best of the decade list because it was Tyler's number 2. So if you want like my full thoughts on it, it's not on my best of the decade, but it's pretty close, and it's definitely one of Fincher's best, and it's a great biopic, and I love the ending to this movie. And it's too bad that Jesse Eisenberg can only play one character.
Yeah.
I saw Lure, which is a Polish musical about mermaids. It's like pop techno. It's on Canopy, so I think it's on Criterion as well.
It's on, I know what you're talking about. It's on
Yeah.
Criterion.
A
Yeah.
Polish musical about mermaids?
But they're like but they try to be pop stars, and it's okay. It's not
As good as it can
weird.
possibly be, given the subject matter.
Yeah, it's only like an hour and a half, but it feels really long. It's like it's very bare bones plot stretched into absolute length. But some of the music is good and some of the directing style is good, but I like watched it and I kind of forgot that I'd seen it, so that's not really a high praise. But if you want to watch a kind of unique musical, I'd say go for it. I saw Borat. I rewatched Borat.
Hey.
And it's really crazy how this movie really nails American culture still to this day.
Yep.
I won't go into any specifics, but it deals a lot with American ignorance, and it's quite prevalent here. But it's hilarious, and yeah, it's one of the best comedies probably of the 2000s, and I'm really excited for the sequel. I rewatched Cold in July. You can get my full reviews on it, my full thoughts on it on the Best of the Decade, because it's like number 8. Spoiler alert: if it's on Best of the Decade, that means I really love it. I'll probably be talking about it for more in depth for like November recommendations. So
October recommendations.
October, whatever. Time doesn't exist anymore.
Time does not exist anymore.
Silver Linings Playbook I rewatched, and it's like probably one of my favorite romantic comedy dramas of 2010s, if not my favorite.
A rom-com, if you will.
Yeah,
He
it's
started to
not
say
really
it.
a rom-com. It's like more of a drama, but it has that element. And I mean, Bradley Cooper is really great as someone with undiagnosed bipolar, and Robert De Niro is great as well, as like a schizophrenic guy. And it's just a really solid movie. I'm going fast because I have one pick of Tyler. I'm gonna get into that really quickly. I watched the first time Little Drummer Girl, which is like a 6-episode miniseries directed by Park Chan-wook. And it's based on a book called Little Drummer Girl by Jean Le Carre, which is he wrote
Tinker
Taylor Soldier Spy. He's like the iconic spy espionage novel writer. I haven't read any of his books, but I know that he's generally regarded as being like the best. And this series is okay. I want to clarify first that Park Chan-wook didn't write the script for this, obviously, because it's in English. But his directing and the music by Young Jung Wook, who does all the scores for Old Boy animated, all that is like top tier. It's stands as their best work respectively, but the script is kind of weird. I didn't really know what was going on for a lot of it. And it stars Florence Pugh and Alexander Skarsgård, who are two kind of okay actors in my opinion. Oh, I think Alexander Skarsgård is pretty bad, actually. I think he's kind of a charisma vacuum in anything he's in. And Florence Pugh, I'm kind of mixed on. Like, I think he's good in Lady Macbeth. He's also in that movie
Midsummer.
Midsummer.
She's phenomenal in that
She's
movie.
phenomenal in it. Okay, cool. And she's good in this, but like I had a hard time relating to her. But yeah, my problems mostly come with the script. It's very confusing. But it was mostly Park Chan-wook's directing and the score that kept me into it. Again, it stands as some of his best work, and that's kind of why I watch it. But I'd say if you really want to get into more of his stuff, I'd watch the series. But overall, it was largely forgettable for me based on the fact that I didn't really like a lot of the characters. Why are you smiling like that?
Me? Because I'm waiting. You said you have a bone to pick with me, and I know it's coming, and I'm waiting for it.
Yeah. Terminator. I watched Terminator Dark Fate. Tyler, what did you think of Terminator Dark Fate?
Terminator Dark Fate kind of slaps. Terminator Dark Fate kind of exact. I just want to throw that out there. I always
did you do mushrooms before watching the movie?
I just punched myself in the head 10 times and then went and sat in the theater. No, I kind of have a soft spot for Terminator movies. I think T1.
Terminator 2 is like my favorite. It's like I watched that movie a million times.
Yeah, okay. When I say soft spot, I should say I like T3 and I like Terminator Salvation. I like Terminator Salvation. This movie is fun. It's fun. It's fun.
It's stupid.
Listen, there's a point where a 65-year-old Linda Hamilton is like in a truck and like flying through the air and shooting stuff, and I was laughing my ass off because I wake up in bed and I sleep wrong and I can't move for like 3 days. But she like gets her shoulder dislocated and she's like thrown around. She's kick-ass. Listen,
a month ago, I grabbed my phone in a weird way, and it a pain like spiraled up my arm. I felt it the whole day. Yeah, and this 65-year-old woman goes through the Dover what is it called?
The Hoover Dam.
The Hoover Dam, and survives that. Gets her shoulder dislocated. But like it's funny in that way. But she's. I mean, I'm gonna clarify this. Linda Hamilton is arguably the most iconic female protagonist in any movie ever, just based on Terminator 2 alone.
Yeah, her
and it is what makes Terminator 2 so great is that she's awesome. She's ripped and she knows and she's smart, but she's incredibly vulnerable. Like, you watch that movie and conceivably she could die in end of the action scenes because she's relatively an expendable character because she's not John Connor. And part of what makes her so iconic is that she overcomes that fragile, the fact that she could get killed off at any moment and she manages to survive to the end. But in this movie, she's too badass. So she's always on top of things. And just the idea of her dedicating her life to killing Terminators is the lamest thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, first of all, this doesn't make any more sense that Terminators exist because they stopped Skynet. So Terminators shouldn't be spawning at random throughout history anymore. But like, they're only hunting John Connor. So there's no point of them. Like, when they come to Earth, they're not going to do anything because like they only want to kill John Connor, but John Connor is dead. So.
Oh yeah, spoilers. They fucking murk.
Yeah.
To that T2 John Connor the first like 3 minutes.
Yeah. But like, what, did you not find it all to be just
okay?
Too much?
So here's the thing. So I'm like, we've been talking about, like, I'm a sucker for characters fighting like an immovable object, like an unstoppable force, and finding ways to overcome it. I find that stuff kind of fun, and I think.
But where is that in this movie?
Okay. So I think that opening where they're on the highway and they're fighting.
That's good. That's good.
And they're throwing the thing, and the main character's brother dies, and it's this really like well done action scene, and you're like, holy fuck, that's the first one. I'm already tired. You're like, Jesus. Yeah. I think that's well done, but I like the emotional depth, or they tried to flesh out with Linda Hamilton's character with Sarah Connor, because she's like this grieving mother who stopped like the end of the world only for it to have no point, and John Connor immediately get killed after. I like the exploration of that. I also think the actress Mackenzie Davis, who plays like the human, I think she's kind of really great in this movie. I think she's solid.
She's good in it, but Linda Hamilton's not good. She's like, I'll be back.
Well, listen,
She
I
sounds
think
like an old lady.
she
I'm
is.
not trying to elderly shame, but it doesn't make any sense.
I think, okay, again, I gave the Marine a B. I mean, like, I very clearly have a soft spot for, like, decent action movies. Does this movie...
decent.
This
It's
movie...
terrible.
Is this movie great? No. Is this movie fun? Yeah. When they're fighting in, like, the Hoover Dam, and they're underwater, and that T2's coming after them, and you have old Arnold just doing stuff, and Mackenzie Davis is fighting, and you're like, how the fuck are they going to beat this guy? And there's two of them. It's just kind of fun for me.
But
I saw it in theaters before the world died.
did you not find, like, there's a whole, like, Arnold having a family, having a what's the word?
I'll give it that one.
But like that was stupid. But the thing is, like, that would have been so funny if, like, say you had Terminator 2 and it's there was some crazy circumstance happen where Arnold had to pretend to be John Connor's father or something, or he had to pretend to be the new girl's father for some stupid reason.
Yeah,
it's like be a good girl or something like that. Like,
but
having to, like,
he has
pretend
the
to be the
scene where
father.
they're like, "How do you not know you're Terminator?" He's like, "My relationship does not require physical intimacy." And you're like, "Yeah."
He's talking to his son, but it's played straight. Like, it'd been funny if they made, like, a comedy scene where he's trying to be a father to, like, play a role or something.
Listen,
to blend in, and it doesn't work.
I can't disagree with any of your opinions on this. I can't. I just like
you tend to, like, be more forgiving for overly CGI dumb act. Like, I'm not saying, like, a bad thing, but you tend to be more forgiving of it because you like Doctor Strange, and I hated it.
I think Doctor Strange is fine.
You liked that Ready Player One movie, which is garbage.
I think it's fine. I don't like these movies. I think they're fine. Listen,
but you shouldn't.
I have a soft spot for, like, fun action movies, or action movies that at least have, like, a fast enough pace to.
But there's, like, nothing to grab onto. Like Terminator 2, so I'm picking apart, like, the plot points, but Terminator 2 makes no sense, but you care about the characters. How, like, what did you care about any of these? Like, why would you send back a humanoid Terminator when you have regular Terminators?
Because it just doesn't. Listen, no one knows anything about the Terminator.
It was so comical when she, like, gets all the drugs.
Yeah.
And he just falls over, and then the guy helps her out, and you're like, oh, is this character gonna play, like, a role?
No.
Like, no, he just goes away. There's no point of her falling over and having you see where someone helps her out, because the guy doesn't come back at all. There's no point to that.
He's just a nice guy, and
then the Terminator, the bad Terminator, is just a guy you would see on the street.
Yeah, that's the point.
Like, Patrick Harris is, like, he's a cop, but there's this weird edge to him that you can't really describe. Like, there's something off about him, and that's what makes him intimidating for the audience.
You didn't like the fact that this Terminator was, like, liquid and could turn into two Terminators. It was awesome.
The actor himself just looked like a guy I would see on the street.
Yeah, that's what's intimidating, because you're like, now you walk down the
like
street.
The guy I would just see, like, at a restaurant.
So you're telling me now you don't go to a restaurant? It's like, after I went to a bar after I saw the movie. I was like, is that guy a Terminator? I'm like, who knows anymore? Because that's how normal it is. Okay. All right.
I feel like you saw the people who probably really liked it, and you felt obligated to like it as well.
No, I left. I was like, it's not bad. No, okay.
It's terrible. You don't. God, and then you think of Terminator 2, when Patrick Harris is, like, about to fall into the lava, and then what's her name, Linda Hamilton, has, like, the grenade launcher. She's like, and then he just, when, like, he's shooting him, and he's about to fall in. Then she runs out of bullets. You're like, no. And then, like, there's that forced ending where they try to make sense, like, they try to make a sensible ending where Carl, Arnold Schwarzenegger's Terminator, sacrifices himself. He's like, I did this for John. It's so bad.
Okay.
Like, and you just think of, like, the thumbs up scene. Like,
all right, I just want to. All right, before we move on,
you're terrible.
I want to throw my opinion out there that I think Terminator Salvation is a good movie. I just want to throw that out there. Terminator Salvation is a fun movie.
Yeah. I also finished The Boys. That's about it.
We'll save that. You guys can save that for your October recommendations, because we don't want to go too long. I just don't want to hear you guys talk about it, so continue you guys out. I was like,
I like Terminators too.
So I'm gonna go real quick. I watched A Few Good Men in preparation for this. A Few Good Men's just like Tom Cruise as Tom Cruisiest. He's just like a lawyer, and it's great. And Jack Nicholson he says a line, I'm gonna rip out your eyes and piss in your skull. I'm pretty sure is the line that he says in the movie. I was like, that's great. Mark, actually,
don't tell me. I don't want to know the grade. I don't want to know.
No. I have 2 movies for you and 1 movie for Matt. I watched 2 Wong Kar-wai movies. I watched Chungking Express.
Yes.
And I watched In the Mood for Love.
Don't tell me what you think.
About In the Mood for Love?
Don't tell me. I know. I just don't want to know.
Can I say one thing? Okay, thing? If you loved Chungking Express, In the Mood for Love is going to fucking blow your mind. That's it. That's all I'll say. Matt, I watched Hard Boil.
Yeah.
Hard Boil is a lot of fun.
Yeah, you said you want to talk about the action for some.
So I have a question, and this might just be my, like, preference in style.
You like dumb CGI movies where the plot makes no sense and
Exactly.
old ladies just are
So,
able to shrug off major injuries.
her arm was dislocated. When I got my arm dislocated and separated, that was like 4 months of physical therapy. Hard Boiled is really fun. The characters
You
are
think
great.
Hardball is better than Terminator Dark Fate?
Yes, 100%. Like
Okay.
it's miles above. Mark, the main guy for Chunking Express, the second story, is one of the main guys in Hard Boiled. Just throw that out
Oh,
there.
really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Hard Boiled, the final hospital action sequence, when it's like creative and it's so cool, is maybe some of the best action I've seen in a movie.
Yeah, that tracking shot is phenomenal.
It's so great, and you can see like inspirations. There's even like sequences like if you want to look at like John Wick 2, when John Wick and Common are like shooting over guns, is an exact homage to Hard Boiled when you have them like they're like going through the windows and they're shooting and they're like dodging stuff like that. Direct homage. I think the final action sequence dwarfs everything else in this movie. Mainly because it's so stylized, it's so creative, and there's so much effort and clear thought and like direction put into this that it makes the first two action sequences where it's more like it's a lot. Like there's just like it's a more substance over style, the first two, especially the first one where it's just like explosions and guns. There is the first time I laughed out loud a lot is when the guy's going down the stairs and he almost trips and he almost falls over the railing, but instead he slides down the railing and just shoots the bad guys. I was dying. I was like, this is great. The second one's a little like the action scenes just get better. Like the first one, I wasn't the biggest fan of, honestly.
The one, in the very first scene.
The very first scene, I wasn't the biggest fan of because, and then they take the next 30 minutes to establish characters, and then they have another action sequence, which
Tequila.
is tequila. Which, and then the middle part is the middle action sequence is fine. And
the one where they're taking over
the what's it called the drug like area. Yeah.
Oh, you thought that was just fine?
I thought it was more.
I really like that scene.
I thought it was more creative. I thought it was like almost there, and then the final one is like balls to the wall, the best. So it's like it's like a building up to me.
Yeah.
I just want to talk about that because I know you said you loved the action sequences, but for me it was like boom, boom, boom. It was basically like CBA for me. Yeah. Like that's kind of how it was. Let's see, what else did I watch?
But do you think Callaghan Fad's like the best actor?
Oh my god, he's so charismatic. But then the other guy, the undercover guy, is just as good.
He's good as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I watched Perks of Being a Wallflower. I had to try to rewatch it for the rest of the decade. Man, this movie's not subtle. It's very overdramatic, but I kind of just ignore its flaws. I kind of love it. Just clicks with me. That's all I want to say about it. It's kind of great. And then I watched Michael Bay's The Rock.
Yep.
It's kind of good.
Criterion Collection. Yeah,
it's kind of good. It's like legitimately like. This is the closest Michael Bay will probably ever go to making like a good movie. It's
hey, Terminator. If you haven't seen Terminator Extinction,
Michael Bay never made that movie.
Terminator Age of Extinction.
Transformers.
Transformers Age of Extinction.
What's wrong with me?
The Island's pretty good.
I haven't seen The Island, honestly. But this one's just fun. It has like an interesting villain. It's nothing like new or groundbreaking or complex, but it's interesting. And then I watched Eyes Wide Shut. I like it.
That's a movie.
Yeah, I like it. I have to rewatch it. That's really all I can say. It's Kubrick at his Kubrickiest. It's visually wonderful. It's a movie that feels like it peaks halfway through and then kind of like it's weird. It's just weird. It's a weird movie. It's kind of good though.
It makes you feel very weird.
Very weird. I then watched Total Recall.
Yeah, I've seen the movie
which is
a bunch of times.
Fucking fun. The first half of Total Recall is honestly incredible. Like it's like genuinely when he's figuring out like is this real or not and you don't really know, it's wonderful. It's so great. And then the next half is like more of like a generic 80s 90s action movie, like overthrowing the bad guy and stuff like that. And then it kind of like loses a little bit of that intrigue for me, but it's still like it's really subtle and it's really smart. It's really creative.
Yeah. Michael Ironside's great.
And then out of morbid curiosity, I rewatched 21 Jump Street. And it's good. I hate my least favorite genre of movies are studio comedies or contemporary studio comedies. And this one's like one of the best. It's not great, but like there's this base level of like excellency with directing and style that Phil Lord and Chris Miller just bring to the screen. And then Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill have great chemistry, and it's legitimately funny at times. Like I laughed like more than like 6 times, which is really commendable for a movie. but it's fine. It's like pretty cliche. It's pretty whatever. But that's like the bar now for studio comedies, and that's basically it. I didn't watch as many as
Yeah.
a movie as I usually do, which is saying a lot considering I watched like 10.
You still watch more than either of us.
Yeah, both of you guys combined. Well, you watched the 6-hour miniseries, Matt,
Yeah.
and you finished a TV show. So yeah, that's what I've been watching. Mark, you got to watch In the Mood for Love. I'm telling you. Same with you, Matt. You guys like
It's on Canopy.
It's on Canopy.
Yeah.
In the Mood for Love.
I was gonna watch it one night, but then I just didn't. I don't know why.
You guys have to check this movie out. You just got to.
I'm the one who told you to watch it.
I know, but now I need to talk to this. I need someone to like watch it so I can be validated in thinking it's something else.
Also, I wanted to make it clear that Tyler's a liar. After Hours is not on Prime Video.
It was for a little bit. It was in September.
Are you sure?
Yes, because I remember seeing After Hours and was like, Mark told me to watch that. And
I'll have order.
Hey, that's a callback to previously in the episode.
Yeah, well, that's called a callback. Ooh.
It's called synchronization. That's called something.
Guys, this has been great. Matt, what's our call to action? What are we doing next week?
Don't subscribe. Don't like us on Facebook.
Facebook?
like, comment, subscribe, comment for your phone for as long as it's me.
Or me.
We're on Spotify, YouTube. You probably watch us on YouTube.
We're
iTunes.
also on podcast app.
Yeah, Scrabbles. Can't make that joke anymore. Also, next week we are doing our Halloween movie recommendations. Just so you can get prepared for it if you are a consistent watcher. I'm recommending 2017's French film Raw. Tyler's recommending
William
My Little
Friedkin's
Pony's Halloween Horror Treat Spectacular, and Mark is recommending Nosferatu. So
the 1922 one.
1922 one.
Almost 100 years old. No, I'm recommending William Friedkin's Exorcist. So
No,
we gotta. No, I'm not. I'm gonna do My Little Pony. That's on record now. But yeah, so that's our next week. Any final things before we want to go?
No.
Okay, perfect. All right. Thank you guys for watching, and goodbye.
Bye.